Okay, what's up? It's the ManFUzed Podcast. I am Kay Lee, audio producer, sitting here with my co-host, Ben H., real estate man.
What's up?
This week on the ManFUzed Podcast, our guest, Kyle Martin, is going to take us inside the mind of a hunter. He's also going to talk about what life is like working on an oil rig. 3 weeks on, 3 weeks off. 3 weeks on, 3 weeks off. We're also going to talk about the OpenAI program, ChatGPT, and what we're looking at if this thing becomes self-aware. Are we going to be looking at Skynet in the Terminator, trying to extinguish humankind? I don't know. I wouldn't say it's off the table. And I got a friend that reached out to the ManFUzed Podcast for some advice. She's got a big problem in front of her, but is it big enough to not go through with the wedding that's going down in 3 months? But first, let's go in the mind of a hunter. We have a special guest in studio. A very unique individual.
Yes.
By the name of Kyle Martin.
What's up, Kyle?
Hello, everyone.
How you doing, bro?
Oh, I'm here, baby.
Thank you for blessing us with your presence today,
yeah.
Kyle.
Gracias.
All right. So we spoke actually about Kyle last week when Kyle and Ben went sort of on a pheasant hunt. I thought you guys were going to really be out in the woods hunting. I didn't know that you were going to be surrounding a area where they're just going to let these birds fly and then you just murder them.
European style.
Yeah. Oh, is that what it is?
The tower hunt,
Yeah.
right?
The tower hunt. So, which brought up kind of a question and some thoughts because Kyle has been a hunter. You were like born to hunt. Your family hunts, your dad hunts, you've hunted with your dad. Is that how you got into hunting?
No, actually, we're all men, so we're all born to hunt. But I was not born a hunter. I just acquired it growing up around other people who enjoyed it. Backstory, my grandfather actually committed suicide.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I didn't know the man. Heard great things. Oh, that was my mother's father. So so I was never allowed to own a weapon growing up. But when I turned 18, the first thing I did was buy my own rifle.
Nice.
I was raised not necessarily hunting, but I had a good friend who you met on the hunt, Daniel.
Yeah, great guy.
His father actually had a ton of hunting land. And that's where we used to go early high school all the way through, college and until he sold it.
Very
Wow.
cool.
That's amazing, man. To have that experience. It's funny. I was talking to my wife about this yesterday with regard to Jack because, I spent my years as a boy and a young teenager in the woods, and it was so important for me. And, it's like I was talking about that with so I hear what you're saying, like to have all that land and be able to go out and do those things, to harvest your own food and stuff like that. It's amazing, dude.
So today's episode with you, Kyle, I'm hoping you're going to get us in the mind of a hunter. Now, me and you did some exercise the other night. We were running up a hill, in front of our house because we live close to each other, but you recommended that I watch this documentary called Stars in the Sky. And that's kind of exactly what I did. And basically, it's a documentary about this guy who he was raised in a hunting environment. His dad was a hunter, his brothers were hunters, all this stuff. And so that's he knew that from the time he could remember. But it gave a good perspective, I thought, as to what a hunter is. A lot of people, PETA doesn't like hunters, obviously. Vegans and vegetarians don't like hunters, but they don't like people who eat meat too, because they sit there and go, well, your way of living is shit. Our way is so much better.
And that's a very hypocritical thing, by the way, for the vegans, because they eat a lot of soybean. The way that these soybean fields are tilled and harvested kills literally every animal all the way down into the topsoil, including the birds, the snakes, the mice, the frickin' raccoons, the foxes.
Yeah, which is totally hypocritical.
Yeah, I mean, they kill more animals eating vegan, probably.
I thought about this too, because they didn't get into it, but let's just say, take like the modern world out of it. You don't go to the grocery store. But if you're a vegan or a vegetarian and you're having to take care of your own crops and animals are constantly coming and eating it, you're probably going to kill those animals that are coming and eating the shit you're growing.
You got to keep in mind, too, this is a new mindset for all of the world. Is we're all grown men. We want to hunt. It's a natural thing for us to want to go hunting to provide for our family. Up until, 50 years ago, everyone went hunting. It didn't matter. I mean, in that documentary, they explain after World War II, there was an influx of people that went hunting and went into the woods. It was probably for their sanity.
Yeah,
'Cause
probably so,
I mean, a lot of PTSD now. You're seeing a lot of guys that come back from the war and are avid, outdoorsmen,
Of course.
are avid into, they have a coffee company now that is
Black Rifle?
dedicated to just that. It's in our blood. It's what we do.
You're referring to Black Rifle.
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. We need to get an endorsement from them so we can talk about our love for Black Rifle coffee.
I think we should put value first. Let's endorse them and send it to them.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
we're going to send them this clip.
Yes, we are.
That's right.
Black Rifle Coffee, we endorse you.
Yeah.
We love you.
love your coffee.
Yeah.
Yes. From the grounds up.
It's the real deal.
There it is.
Yeah,
It's the real
boom,
deal.
boom.
Boom.
There it was, son. You heard it here. There's your new tagline. So, yeah, you're right. And also, another thing about this documentary was I thought fascinating because while some people are like, oh, you go and you kill this, precious wildlife, but hunters are actually responsible for the conservation and the getting some of these species back from almost extinction because of the overkilling, like around the time of like Theodore Roosevelt.
Correct. Yeah. Ducks Unlimited has done a great job with conservation around America, around South America, around the world. And they're one of the leaders in conservation for hunting. It's mostly ducks, but, it's more wetlands. I mean, which wetlands bring all kinds of
Boys to the yard.
Yeah. Ecosystems back to what we need. And I mean, it just helps the land. It helps the people. It helps the crops. It helps the animals. It's the way we have to be. And, there's things that we dive into in society where we push against hunters, where hunters, if it's, the old saying is, if it's brown, it's down, is a deer hunting term.
Oh, if it's brown, it's down.
If it's moving, and that's not,
If it's brown, it's down.
that's not the way. I mean, you can take that
Kill
multiple ways.
everything.
I don't know. That's a harsh slogan.
No, it's a harsh world, baby.
Yeah, it is. Especially if it's brown.
Yeah. Jesus.
So no, you have people that hunt for trophy.
Which I'm not. I've never been hunting to where and I don't like just unnecessary. If you're going to eat your food,
Right.
if you're going to eat what you're killing, great. But for you to go and pay to get a license or whatever to kill a lion, that's just basically sitting there and you're using a freaking, sniper rifle. I mean, to me, and all you want is the trophy. I think that's bullshit.
Now,
Not personally. That's just my thoughts on it.
The whole lion deal.
Or elephants or
yeah,
shit like that. That's just, you just want to say you killed one.
It's more of a, how do they say, penis envy?
Yeah, totally. I mean, at least if I was going to kill a rhino, I would sell its horn and get all that money. I mean, at least maybe there's some motivation behind that. I'm not saying I endorse that type of thing.
You're the problem, sir.
Yeah, no.
That would be illegal.
Yeah, it would
Haley.
be. It would be.
That would be illegal.
Yeah, it would be highly illegal.
Highly illegal.
And like I just said, I'm not for the merciless killing of any animal. But I think if you're out there hunting, and you're going to eat it, and you're, as in this documentary, they're using every feasible part of that animal in some way.
Correct. I think growing up, also, the older generation has to teach the younger generation how to do it.
Yeah,
There is no conservation if you don't teach why you're doing it.
that's right.
And I think that's huge in today's society, and that's what we need to get. Ben and I have sons who are younger, and they good buddies at school, teaching them the right way. Even Kai, he still has time to learn the right way to harvest an animal and why you do it and why you do it for your family.
That's interesting. And I think you're teaching that generation if push came to shove and you needed to live off the land. Because we don't know what's going to happen in this
Nobody
world.
does.
Yeah. So, I mean, could be nuclear war, whatever it is. And for you to have that skill set.
Yeah, dude. The path that Kyle is leading me down here is I think pre-industrial revolution, think 1850 and earlier, okay? Sure, that's 170 years ago. So let's think 150 plus years back. Now, all the way up to that point, you had to hunt for your food.
Yes, sir.
You had to. So most of humanity, bro, didn't make it. Most of humanity starved. Most of humanity was killed in wars. Most of humanity didn't fucking make it, bro. Our ancestors made it because we're here. And we were born of our ancestors all the way back, right? So somehow our ancestors made it through. And likely, if you go back far enough, it's because they were hunters, they were gatherers, they were producers, they were providers, right? So we have that within us. And it's something that it's happening anyways, bro. The mass execution of cows and chickens and lamb and all of the food that we all eat every day mercilessly, throw it in the trash can, throw it in our refrigerator. We have no respect for it. It's just like a fucking Frosted Flake, but it came off of a real breathing, living, bleeding animal.
Right, of course.
Which was murdered, by the way, so that you could eat it.
Mass murder.
Mass murder.
That's one of thousands.
So if you really think about it, which way is more humane? Which way is more digressive as it pertains to the murderer or whatever, the killer? Look, I got to be honest with you. I feel bad taking any life.
Right.
The hard part about it is watching the life go away.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because we have life and we value life.
Absolutely. Well, some of us do anyway.
But when you're out there and you're doing it, when you're out there and you're in the forest, you're in the woods and you're breathing the air, it's almost like a shared respect. And then you honor the animal by eating it.
And one of the cool things I thought in this documentary I'm talking about, Stars
in the Sky.
Stars in the Sky.
Steve Rinelli.
Yeah, Steve Rinelli, who's like a famous hunter.
Right.
He's got a second documentary called Meat Eater, and I think both are available on Netflix. That's where I watched the first one. But one of the things he was saying when he goes out, he tries to make the hunt a little harder for himself. I mean, because there are certain instances where he could very easily just take the shot and kill something quick, but he likes to put some, roadblocks. He likes to make it, he gives them a chance. It gives the deer
right. So a chance. Like he's not taking the easy road just to kill something. So his big thing is hunting on foot. And so it's an equalizer, right? So if a deer, whether it's deer, elk, whatever, they have a insane sense of hearing and smell.
And they're fast.
Yeah, and if they get any sense of danger, they're gone. So that's the equalizer that he likes to have in his hunts. Like, I can sit in a deer stand, I can spray myself with doe urine, and it's not fun. It's like a carnival. And that's where his big thing is he likes to take his meat on the ground while he's stalking it, per se.
So and I've heard this, people hunt with guns, obviously. That's easier than hunting with a bow.
Correct.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
But if you hunt with a crossbow, that's like cheating. Is it considered like almost like...
It's like a hybrid. So with a bow, you have to be closer to the animal to kill it, which means...
And you have to have practice at using it.
Well, 100%. You got to know wind speed. You got to know your distance. You have to lock everything in beforehand. The prep work for a bow is a lot harder than, a 308 that's going to shoot, 700 yards.
Right.
And a crossbow is kind of, you can hunt 80 yards with a crossbow and still be deadly. Growing up, my father, he allowed me to go hunting. He had a bow. He said, if you want to hunt, you learn to hunt with a recurve bow, which is like old Indian bows.
Right.
He goes, and then you can graduate to wherever you want. He's like, if you harvest an animal with a recurve bow, then I'll let you hunt whatever you want. And that's how it started. It's an adrenaline rush, stalking a prey, knowing that it can kill you at any second. A deer can maul you to death. Like, you can die.
Really?
Oh yeah, dude. So
are there instances of people getting mauled by deer?
100%. Yeah.
I feel like they're the most skittish. Like, they'll run away.
Well, let it walk up on a baby fawn with a mother there, and she will destroy you.
And they're strong.
And their hooves are like razors.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, like, I'll tell a quick story. We used to hunt in Macon, and we were hunting, and we were walking through the swamps, and we walked up on piglets. So there's wild hogs in Georgia. And we walked up on some piglets, and Daniel froze. And he was like, we were all like, oh, stop. And then all of a sudden, Mama comes out of the bushes and just starts charging at us.
Now, this isn't a deer. This is
a wild hog.
Oh, yeah.
Which is dangerous.
Those with the tusks?
Oh, yeah. And it was, so we ran. We had to jump in the river.
Oh, shit.
So we actually ran and we split. And I think that's what saved us, is she didn't know where to go, gave us an instance, and there was a river behind us. And we all just jumped in it. And it was like 30 degrees outside, jumping in this river. But, it's what we did to save our life. Our guns were fully submerged. Like, everything. That was the most freaked out that I've ever been in my entire life.
Wow.
So does a
That's
hog,
crazy.
a hog won't go in the water?
Well, no. It was deep enough to where
he wasn't going to swim.
She was not gonna. I don't even know. I don't think hogs can swim, but
they're bad at swimming. They're not effective in the water.
If
they
they-
could
if they
cross a
have to,
river,
yeah.
you know what I mean?
In the
But they're
Bahamas,
not
don't
doing
the
any
pigs
damage.
swim? Or
well, those
yeah,
are,
they're
those are
island
domesticated
pigs.
though.
Yeah.
well, I
island
mean, I
pigs.
don't know. Did someone teach them how to swim?
No, they just raised on an island. Bro.
Okay.
Probably an
alright.
acquired trait.
Okay.
No, but this is the different thing than those pigs and what he's talking about. Wild hog,
Right.
dude, is a big. That's the one with the big hair coming off
Yeah,
the back.
yeah.
to
The
the tusks.
Russian boar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a boar.
They'll
They-
gouge you with
They will
those
kill
things.
you.
They'll kill.
Oh,
you.
really?
Oh yeah.
They'd love to.
Oh, 100%. That's what
And
that's
eat
what she
you.
wants.
And
Oh,
they'll
yeah.
eat you too.
Oh, they'll eat you.
Oh yeah.
Your whole bones and everything.
Yeah. I know pigs. I've seen Snatch, the movie, and where they throw the people to the pigs, and the
Yeah.
pigs will eat everything, and there'll be no trace of them left. But I didn't
Pretty
realize
scary if
that
you think about it.
they don't get tall. They're just like diesel.
Some are huge.
Really?
Some are 500 plus pounds.
Have you ever eaten boar?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's good meat. Very good. meat.
There's got to be a lot of meat that you can get off of one of those things.
Yeah, good roast.
That's a good roast.
It's all on how you
Ew,
cook.
I hate it. Is it going to be stewy? Because I just don't do stew.
Yeah.
Crock pot shit, I just don't do it.
Yeah, not for you though.
Yeah. I'm not going to
Stick to your tofu.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
eat tofu. I did have lamb chops last
soybean.
night, and they were delicious.
There you
Lamb
go.
chops are
There you
delicious.
go.
So, yeah, I've never heard of anybody getting mauled by a deer before. I know cars get mauled by deers all the time. I mean, you hit a deer,
Well, there's been
shit.
deaths where deer get caught in the window or trying to kick their way out and actually kick you to death, which is probably one of the worst ways you could possibly go.
Yeah, I could imagine it'd be like getting kicked by a Clydesdale or
Yeah.
something just in the face over and over. Psh, psh.
Yeah.
Be horrible.
Yeah, it'd be tragic. I think the mass killing, and I'm a meat eater, and I buy that shit from the store too, but I definitely think that there's more of a personal connection.
We need to go harvest a deer, Kaylee.
Yeah.
Me and you.
All right, let's do it.
We're
I mean,
going out
I'm
into
not
the
saying
woods.
I'm not afraid to do it or wouldn't do it. I definitely would feel bad, I think, because like I see deer in our neighborhood. Every morning,
Yeah.
at least 3 times a week when I leave at like 4 a.m., I'm seeing the same family of deer.
Yeah.
And they're chill and they're cute. Like, so I couldn't imagine.
Well, I wonder if
know.
a cow pasture would let us go like snipe a cow.
I mean, like,
Sure.
That'd be an interesting podcast episode.
I've got him. I've got.
We're fighting. We're fighting the fucking
Is there a
mass killing.
Yeah.
Is there a season for that?
We're gonna kill our own cow.
Yeah, we're gonna kill the neighbor's cow.
Is it Angus season yet?
Yeah.
I mean, do they have
Go
that?
Wagyu
No,
hunting.
no.
So you can kill a cow any time of the year.
I don't know, dude.
Now,
Probably.
you might not want to kill someone else's cow.
Well, it's always someone
Well,
else's cow.
Not if you buy the cow and then
you
kill
buy
it.
the cow, you can kill it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the loophole.
We need to have like 100 cow like Yellowstone. Have like
I don't.
And then people can come and snipe their own cow.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. Snipe a cow.
Dude, yeah, and it's all really, if you think about it, I mean, it's a more humane way of you providing the beef for your family that you're going to eat anyways. Just come once a year to the cow shoot.
To the
You know
cow
what I'm
shoot.
Tower shoot.
Yeah, except it's you in the
Yeah,
tower.
they're chunky.
Now, are we going to offer like this Etowah Valley place are we going to offer the cutting and the cleaning of the
All the
meat?
processing
like,
right there. Yeah.
Right there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that the EPA would not allow that.
Why?
I don't know much about it, but
Please tell us, Kyle.
I'm sure.
Inform us.
I'm sure to slaughter a cow and
Mutilate it right there
and
on
dre-
site.
and dress it.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure you got to have a license for that.
Oh, we'd have everything squared away. Yeah. No, we'd get everything squared away. No, this is a reason to buy 100 acres right here.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
100 acres, couple hundred head of cattle.
Well, we had cows growing up, and we would just take them to the slaughterhouse.
Think
Yeah.
about the mushrooms we get from having that acreage with those cows.
Oh, dude, that's
We'd
a
have
whole other-
psilocybin. We'd have the
Ooh,
black market
dude.
business as
Dude.
well.
No, it's going to be legal by then.
Well, we
Yeah.
think, but if not, it'll be black market. I'm not opposed to sitting on the side of the street corner
Never
slinging
just-
mushrooms.
Never
For the
seen-
record, I never agreed to do any kind of black market shit.
I did.
Never seen a farmer drive a Maserati.
Well, because
Because they hadn't figured out the loophole of
Yeah.
sniping cows yet.
they're not selling psilocybin on the black market. I'm making shroom tea and serving it
No,
like a
we're gonna go-
lemonade stand.
We'll go legal, dude. What we need to do is a truffle farm. Beef, truffles, cheese, wine.
He's the truffle king. This
Oh,
guy.
yeah, I love a truffle. And I don't even like mushrooms.
Wouldn't it be cool to have a farm that produced all that cool shit?
We could. 100 acres. If anybody wants to donate to the ManFUzed farm, right?
ManFUzed Conservation Society.
Okay, yeah.
Or something like
Yeah,
that.
you may be onto something there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So if you would like to submit a donation, you can do so at manfused.com.
You could also buy the big guy lap dance.
And you can buy the big guy a lap dance too. That is available. You can definitely support the show. We'll figure out what we want to do with the money. Do you still, at this point in your life, when you murder a deer, do you have any, you're excited when you hit one?
So in full transparency, I had to give
You get hard.
I had to give
No, just like,
Yeah. There's a lot of guys out there that cannot wait for deer season. I mean, they just, opening day is like Christmas time to them.
But part of that would be going out with your buddies, suiting up, being out in nature.
Of course.
Going on the hunt. I
Of
mean,
course.
You're living your heritage, man.
yeah.
Well, you're hanging out with your boys. The night before, you've probably had a half a bottle of bourbon by a campfire, just shooting the shit with all your best buds. You got a deer camp that you're probably involved with. And it's like an athlete that's been training all year for opening day or the first game of the season. They've prepped. They've got their cameras out. They know where they've been scouting. They know where everything's at. It's go time. And it's like, think of Christmas morning as a kid. You cannot wait to wake up.
Yeah.
So you guys typically go and set up those like trail cameras before, so like to see what kind of activity is hitting these spots, so you kind of have an idea of what's around there, or is it?
In full transparency, I had to give up deer hunting for my wife.
Why?
Yeah. I was already getting tired of it. It's a lot of work.
Is it?
I was working, offshore, didn't have a lot of time, so I was spending it with her. I enjoy bird hunting and saltwater fishing. That's like my passions in life.
Yeah, and Ben, you had mentioned before, of all the amount of slaughter, especially in the United States. I mean, any society, the mass killing of, animals and fish. I mean, think about and one thing I can't stand, and I love fish, but I cannot stand what China, the shark fin soup, where they're massacring dolphins and whales.
That's a whole other podcast.
What humans do. The funny thing about it is it's human nature. And consider it to be right or wrong, we also kill each other in mass scale. You know what I'm saying?
It's true.
At war. And it's just part of human nature, unfortunately. And it's something that we do. But fortunately, it's part of our diet. We eat other animals because we're so far detached from it as we walk through the supermarket. But the truth is that we're eating other animals.
I wonder if you walk through the supermarket and they were literally butchering a cow right there in front of everybody, how many people would be turned off from buying that meat?
Yeah, what if on one side of the supermarket you had the cows coming in, walking in, and on the other side it was steaks?
It used to be like that.
And you could see the whole thing happen.
Kind of still is. Go to Publix. If you walk into Publix, you can see them back there,
you can.
quartering up, butchering. They're not taking the entire cow, but they've got the skin and the guts and all that already. But they have the whole animal
beast
back there. They're cutting it up in your fillets.
Well, they use those air guns, right? It just shoots like
I think it's a bolt.
Well, that's the slaughter. There's a lot of things they use like that, and electrodes, and there's a bunch of things they use.
I think what shed light on one of the ways that they do it. Did you guys ever see that movie No Country for Old Men?
Oh yeah.
So the guy in that movie is walking around with a tank and this little and a hose with this little gun, and basically he just someone opens the door and just puts it to their head. It's like boom. And it just shoots that air hole into their brain, and they're just like, it's crazy. Can you imagine if they were doing that?
It's the old saying, man. Everybody loves sausage, but no one wants to see how the sausage gets made.
That's right. Who wants this sausage?
You know what I'm saying? It's true, dude. It's a nasty place, dude. The world's a nasty place. We live in a society which is so luxurious we don't even fucking know.
Have you ever seen sausage being made? Like in a plant?
It's the skin, right? They're taking the skin and they're
disgusting.
stuffing it.
Yeah, it's gross.
It literally is disgusting.
But aren't they stuffing this it almost looks like foreskin?
You can do it at your house.
Yeah, I probably won't do that.
Yeah, it's pretty gross. But
we do it at Ben's house.
Sausage is delicious.
Yeah, well, I love
pack sausage at Ben's house.
Yeah, we can pack sausage at Ben's house. So you had just mentioned something, Kyle, that when you had to give up deer hunting, that sacrifice you made for your lovely wife.
Yeah.
The love of your life.
Yeah, let's get back to that.
Yeah. You were working offshore.
Yes.
So you used to work on an oil rig.
Correct.
How many miles offshore?
Oh, a couple hundred.
Wow.
In the Gulf.
And you got helicoptered out there, right?
Correct.
So even on a helicopter, it would take you a couple hours
Depending on where the ship, it was a drill ship.
Okay, it was
and
a
we
drill
were
ship.
like more of exploratory.
It wasn't like
operation.
one of those like 4-posted stationary rigs that you see.
Same concept. So
Okay.
those things they rotate and everything on thrusters, bow thrusters. And same way with the drill ship. It's all thruster, dynamic position. It's actually quite interesting if you ever, want to dive off into a rabbit hole.
I mean, yeah.
I love rabbit holes.
Yeah.
So
I
I
love
guess
holes.
they deal with really rough water pretty well.
My first time I went out there, we went through a hurricane. It was a Category 1.
Holy shit.
And we had to move, 80 miles out of the way. And it ended up changing direction right as we were moving. So
wow.
we got the kind of the outer bands of it. It was the most gnarly experience that I've ever been a part of.
Really?
I mean, you're talking 40-foot rogue waves.
That's insane.
So you flew out on the helicopter during this? Like
No. I was already out there.
You were already out there.
Yeah. They won't fly for safety reasons, out in the hurricane.
How did you even come up with that job? Like, how did that even fall into your lap that, hey, I'm going to go work hundreds of miles on this rig?
2008 happened.
Okay,
And,
okay.
everybody was looking for jobs. And
Yeah, that was
I was
an
actually living
interesting
with a guy I knew from back in the day, and he was a merchant marine and was actually an officer on a supply vessel. Just gotten this job, and he's like, "Hey, man, if you're really looking for something, I can probably hook you up out, offshore." I'm like, "What the hell is that? What do you do?" He's like, "Oh, like an oil rig," and I'm like, "What?" And I was like, "How much does it pay?" He goes, "I think it's pretty good, And I was like, "Well, you go out for 3 weeks, you're back for 3 weeks." You go out for 3 weeks. So his next time out, I was like, "Hey, Neil, hook me up. Like, what? Throw some feelers out there if they're hiring."
Yeah.
And this was back like the oil rush. It was like everybody they couldn't find enough people. And he called me while I was on the rig, and he said, "This is the starting salary." And I said, "You'll have my resume in 5 minutes."
What is a starting salary typically for somebody 2008 on an oil rig for 3 weeks at a clip?
So starting salary was like $77,000. And that was like scrubbing decks.
So,
Yeah.
and that's 3 weeks on, 3
3
weeks
weeks
off,
That's awesome.
and 52 for 52 weeks. So it's just 3 weeks on, 3 weeks off,
Yeah.
3 weeks on.
And it didn't matter where it landed. Like there was some days I got back. I think one year I got back on Thanksgiving, or I had to leave like day after Thanksgiving. I
Did
can't
they
remember
at least have you a turkey dinner?
It's all catered out there, bro. The food is amazing. I was never out there for Christmas, thank God. It just how my schedule worked out with my promotions and all. I was out there for Thanksgiving a few times, actually every time, and except for once. And I mean, they would fly in crab legs and
Oh, yeah.
turkey, and I mean, you
It's
ate.
unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, you had people out there that did your clothes. You weren't wearing much. They had coveralls for you
Right.
to wear, but
Right.
everything was given to you.
It's awesome.
In a typical day, you could work how many hours a day?
12 hours on, 12 hours off. So you shared a room with the guy that worked your other 12 hours. Bottom bunk, top bunk. You weren't hot bunking. And
A what?
Hot bunking.
What's a hot bunker?
hot, like he gets out, it's still hot. You get in, and it's still warm. Yeah, it's
He's been
not like
he's
that.
been farting on your
Oh,
cover.
the milk. No telling what he's doing in the.
He's looking at the pictures of your girl up on the
Yeah.
bed.
It was interesting. Basically, all you did was eat, sleep, work out, and repeat.
Did you guys, I would imagine, playing cards and shit like that?
Yeah, there were some card games. We had card games, ping pong. We had some pretty intense ping pong tournaments.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
A nice workout gym, CrossFit gym down in the bottom of the hole. And it was a different experience. Now,
That's
one
crazy.
that I'll never do again, but something I can tell my kids.
So in our last episode, we discussed derogatory customer names that businesses had, and one of the names was a rig pig, which
Yeah.
was basically somebody that worked on a rig for 3 weeks or whatever, and then once they got off, they went to like the nearest bar, and they spend all their money on waitresses and whatever, drinking and hanging out. So they called that was how they classified it as a rig pig.
That's a rig pig.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of that out there, guys.
Is it fun being a rig pig?
It's a different world.
Can you expand on the life of being a rig pig?
I didn't dabble in in that kind of scenery.
The rig pigging?
Yeah, the old lot lizard.
Yeah, the old
The
lot lizard.
lot lizard.
That's right.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, the
dude.
swamp donkey.
I
Yeah,
love it.
But so when you were out there, were you running like cranes?
yeah. So I went out there and I'm like, man, I'm not going to do this long term, and I don't really want to go. You have a couple different options, not too many. You either go to the rig floor. If you've ever seen Deepwater Horizon, so that movie, it's actually a pretty good kind of a visual of. It's obviously Hollywood did their stupid spinoff on it.
The ship you were on, they have a drill and they're drilling the
Yeah,
seafloor?
Yeah, we worked for Chevron. Our company worked for Chevron, and we would drill, try to find They had their spots they wanted to look. We would try to find what they're looking for, and then we pull back out and move to the next location.
So if you found it, do you have to call them or call someone else for them to come and how they're going to capture the oil?
Yeah, it was a big deal. It's it's not oil per se. Like, you would cap it off and they would come back. It's basically saving for later. So there's so many reserves in the Gulf that you have no idea how many reserves are actually there that are capped off just waiting to be pumped.
And someone has it on their sheet, longitude, latitude of this exact.
You own the grid. So the Gulf is split up into grid, like the grid system, and each major oil company owns certain grids.
So if you found oil, you guys would put the cap on it.
We would cap it.
Phone the company and be like, struck oil.
No, they were out there.
Oh, they were monitoring your shit.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you're talking billions of dollars being pumped into exploratory operations. And once you find it, it was a big freaking deal.
While you were working, did you guys
we found it a couple times.
A couple times?
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
I'll bet the representative that was on the ship was happy as a mother.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Like, he showed it to us.
I'm rich,
you
bitch.
Find, it's a big deal. It's a pretty big deal.
Which is why you're out there in the first place.
It's all we do, man.
Exploring.
It's all we do.
How deep is this drill going? Like, are we talking like hundreds of feet?
Oh, thousands.
Where the hell's a drill bit that's like thousands of feet?
Well, you got drill pipe. It's all connected to the drill pipe. I can't remember exactly. It's been a while ago, but when I left, we had just finished the deepest drill in the Gulf of Mexico, and I think it was around 36,000 feet.
Wow.
So,
but
you have 36,000 feet
of pipe? That's like 6 miles.
Oh, yeah. We were in 6,200 feet of water.
36,000. Wait, hold on. Okay, because you're drilling like deep into the earth.
6 miles.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but how does this drill bit, like this pipe, you have that much
You just
pipe?
keep connecting pieces. And
no, I get
down.
that, but still, the amount of space you would need to hold 36,000 feet of pipe, you would think would be like...
Well, so you have supply vessels that come up beside you. They're kind of like the storage area.
Okay.
So when you're drilling, obviously you're not doing that in 2 weeks' time.
They're handing off pipe. So it would, to drill that, just to set it up to go that, like to be able to penetrate that deep, weeks you're talking, right?
Oh, months, maybe even years. We were out there at least a year on that one site drilling. Because you got to think, man, that drill's not moving fast. And it's just plugging out water as it goes and just spinning. And it's just spinning nonstop unless you hit something. Then you got to back out and go around it.
So how do you
It's amazing to me how the rig can stay in the same place.
It's crazy. It's
right.
How the fuck is that?
Without an anchor.
How does it just stay in the same place with all the wind and the waves and the current?
Well, that's where my roommate came into play. We were in constant contact with him.
Really?
The rig floor and the bridge were always in contact with, hey, weather's going to be here in about 6 hours. Y'all may want to. It's a monster organization that's ran like clockwork.
That's crazy.
Unless they have an oil leak in the bottom of the ocean, and then there's nightmare and they can't plug it.
That's a really cool experience, man. I bet you're glad that you did that at that time in your life.
It's something that I'll never forget. The people that I met, dude, you're talking, you meet there's some interesting people out there. A lot of good people. Shout out to the South Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama guys, Texas. My favorite are the Louisiana people. They love to cook
really?
And they love to drink.
That's
right.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you told me a few stories about
man, it's wild. There's some wild folks.
Awesome.
Both my bosses on there love them to death. They're wild.
Yeah.
Love them.
Yeah.
They still around?
Oh, yeah. A lot of those guys are lifers too, man. Some of those guys are second, third generation.
Wow. Just like the hunter.
So they're out and they're back and they're out and they're back. And
that's just how life is.
That's just life.
It's...
It goes back to providing for your family.
Well, right. It's not like you have to go get a PhD to work on a rig, right? So, it's work that, they can do. It's like almost mindless probably for them at this point. They're probably good with their hands anyway. It's just something that you can just get into. And
most of those guys, too, are smart enough to get a PhD.
Why would they waste their time?
Well, that's what I'm saying. You're not going to tell a 20-year-old making $100,000 to go get a PhD. He's going to tell you to go screw yourself.
Yeah. I dropped out of high school and became a body piercer. And I remember my dad going, dude, you're never going to amount to anything. And within like a year, I rode this wave and this trend. I was making like $100K.
Yeah.
And I was making more than him. And I'm like, fuck you, Dad. And he's probably going to listen to this. So love you, Dad. It's okay. Those words, I used them as fuel. They didn't bog me down.
They didn't bog me. Look at me now.
Yeah. Look at me now. Listen to me now. But yeah, so I think that's super interesting. The oil rig thing is it's fascinating. Just like, who came up with how did they plug it? 36,000. How do they even know they hit oil? Was it sending up samples constantly or something? Are they able
That's a good question. I don't know. I wasn't involved in that side. I was more involved on the deck side. where I kind of, going back to my path, it's 130 degrees on this deck. I mean, it's
insane.
hot as hell.
Yeah.
You are moist and glistening
Oh,
all
dude,
the time.
I mean, you're talking about chafed.
Oh, yeah.
You have no freaking clue, man. Bleeding chafed.
Oh,
Like, it is miserable.
that's crazy.
You got monkey butt, and, and it hurts
Hey,
every step.
Shout out to Gold Bond.
Yeah,
exactly.
Gold Bond helped Kyle
The liquid-
through
the-
his rig.
The
Yeah.
chafe stick literally saved my life. Like, their number one salesman.
Boom. Endorsement number 2.
Yeah.
Gold Bond.
Chafe stick.
Yeah.
Chafe stick.
Yeah, chafe stick. You saved Kyle's balls.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for not letting him bleed as much.
Oh.
Keeping him dry through 130 degrees of rigging.
Yeah. So back to the story, I just had to choose, man. I was like, man, the rig floor is that's even hotter because you got oil all over you and mud and you're just sweating. And I'm like, what can I do? And I'm looking up I got an equipment operator background. I had a business moving earth and all kinds of stuff. And it was like, it just seemed natural to get in the crane. My supervisor, great people again, man, were like, you want to get up in here? Let's do it. Get in the cab. Got in the cab. That bitch was air conditioning. And I was like, that's it, man. I hopped in and it was like clockwork. I mean, I got promoted in 9 months. So
Wow.
it was the real deal. Got a promotion, got that money.
So then you're sitting in the box of a crane in air conditioning up off the side of an oil rig,
Yeah.
craning shit
Food, you
on
like,
and off the
like
rig.
supplies.
Well, I mean, everything that's on the rig has to be brought
Off
up
of
by the
ships?
crane. Yeah, off the ships that are moving
Dude,
on
that's rowdy.
20-foot seas.
That's
you got
crazy.
Metallica, you got Pantera just blaring in the background, and you're just like, ah.
Holy
Dun,
shit.
dun, dun, dun,
And
dun.
it's just storming out there.
Oh, it's
You're
awesome.
like Captain Dan on Forrest Gump.
The perfect storm, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, Lieutenant Dan, Captain Dan.
yeah. It's awesome, guys. It's an adrenaline rush. I mean, it's all about the rush.
And you're talking about seas sometimes as bad as like what you would see on The Deadliest Catch.
Oh, they were rocking. Yeah, I got some video on my phone.
Jeez.
Oh.
Did you ever get seasick?
I did the first time during that hurricane. I yacked over the railing. If you didn't get seasick, there's something wrong with you. Because, I mean, it was so gnarly. I used to get bad seasick. After being on that rig, I don't really get seasick too much
You
anymore.
probably wouldn't sleep unless it was rocking you.
Oh,
It
my
probably
God.
would be the best sleep ever.
Dude, they would put the boat dead into the waves, and you would just rock like a baby. It was the most insane. You're like,
Yeah, you know what? The only comparison I ever had, I used to have a waterbed. It was the full wave.
Yeah, I used to have a
The full
water
wave. Yeah, did you?
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was my
yeah.
parents' water.
Yeah.
They passed
Yeah,
it
I
down.
made the motion in the ocean on that bed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great.
It was-
Waterbeds were a thing.
Yeah.
I think it was a 70s thing.
Yeah.
Like
No, I mean,
80s
it's
thing.
80s. It was a big thing in the 90s. I
Yeah,
feel
early
like.
90s, I think, was when it was
And
kinda
And now, I bet you, can you even find one? No one's
gone.
selling.
I don't know if you can get insurance on your house if you have a water
Dude,
bed.
I've popped so many waterbeds.
So did I.
Yeah.
I popped so many, and my mom got so fucking pissed that finally she had, instead of the big bladder, which is the one I had, the
Yeah.
full motion one,
Yeah.
which I had to buy these tubes that would go inside a mattress looking thing. So
Dude, they
it
must have
wasn't.
been cheap, though, right? If you think about it.
I mean,
A waterbed?
I didn't pay for it at the time. My
I'm
mommy
just saying,
did.
it's just a big, like,
It's a bladder.
big rubber bladder. You just fill it up with water.
Filling the water up would probably be the most expensive part.
Probably so.
Well, I mean,
I remember
and-
doing that as a kid.
Me
like
too.
Filling up the waterbed.
Yeah, yeah. Turning on the heater,
Turning the
make it
waterbed heater,
adjust.
yeah.
Make
Yeah.
that shit warm.
Oh
you
my
get in it.
gosh.
I'm gonna
Oh
get
my
me
God.
one,
It's that
dude.
Kaylee money. Over
The
there.
Kaylee
Got that
waterbed.
heated water.
I was making it rain on them bitches.
We're going to get a waterbed.
Yeah, but if you were to put one on your second floor now, you have to like support the
Oh, the
like,
weight. Yeah, oh, yeah.
You imagine if you didn't? You're just sitting there like,
Can you imagine why you have to? Because it's happened.
right?
Yeah.
People's waterbeds just fall
I mean, how
straight
many
through the floor.
How many thousands of pounds is
Oh,
that?
you're done.
And I had a
You're sitting at the
king.
breakfast
I had like
table.
a king. It was like a cow.
I wouldn't even worry
You
about the
are
weight.
done.
I'd worry about where the water went.
Oh, dude, we need to. That would be a video. That would be absolutely amazing.
What?
We need to find an old shitty house, fill up a waterbed on like the second floor, and
Crash it
video
through.
it when it just falls through.
It's crazy.
Think about the slow-mo footage of that coming through the fucking ceiling.
Yeah.
That would be funny. Sitting there eating my breakfast,
It's something that-
eating my cereal.
We've only seen it in our imagination. Probably will never see a waterbed falling through a floor.
Can you even get a waterbed anymore?
I'll bet you can.
Yeah.
Amazon's got to have
Yeah,
one. I'll
sure.
bet if we Googled
Yeah.
Amazon, I
Yeah,
bet there'd be
Amazon's got
one
one.
same day delivery.
Yeah.
We'd have to put that shit together. We could do that. We could literally.
I think it's going to be
find a-
harder to make the bed fall through the floor than you think.
I don't think so. You get an old house that doesn't have the right support.
Well, how are we going to get an old house?
Do you know what kind of market we're in right now? You know what
Dude.
interest rates are?
Are we just going to roll up on an abandoned, vacant house? It's not owned by
This is where we
anyone.
lean on the real estate mogul.
Right, yeah, Ben. Well, that,
Gossip
or
story.
we lean on our listeners to find us an old shitty
hang on-
house
hang
that
on
we can
now, hang
stage
on.
this
I know
thing.
some old
Hang
shitty
on,
houses.
hang on. He's got connections. The guys that are buying those houses in Milton tear those things down.
Oh, I know lots of old houses.
Tell them what we want to do.
Cut the subfloor, get a little notch in it, put a little weight on it. It'll fall in a couple days.
Do a video. Just
what I'm
fast
saying.
forward it.
No, just put a
We'll just
GoPro
get a,
up.
we'll get a little dining
up a
room
GoPro.
table. We'll sit there and have our lunches and wait for it to fall through.
Y'all are crazy.
I'm not going to be anywhere close to it.
Yeah, don't do that, please.
Dude, that would be awesome footage.
I don't
right
want
there.
new neighbors and friends.
Okay, we can wait until we're further down the road
Yeah.
where we have like some, where our videos, like we could invest, you know, a certain amount of money in creating a video because it's going to make us hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, the waterbed falling through the floor is just a.
Why don't you put mannequins up and dress them like you would?
Yeah.
And put like,
There we
your,
are.
like your body face. That
Yeah.
way you're not dying.
We'll just cut out like a printed picture on the mannequin.
No, I think you do it like a prank where you have a VRBO. You know what I mean?
Oh,
And
yeah.
you have the people
Yeah.
they're being recorded.
You're showing
They think
the
they're on
hosted-
like a show.
Yeah.
But they don't know they're getting ready to get dropped through the freaking subfloor.
Or no, that you while you're showing them the house, it just, can you imagine? They get rushed out of the front door by the water that breaks.
Y'all are going to need a really good attorney.
They think it's a realtor.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you are the realtor.
I'm not doing it. I told you, I'm as far away from this fucking idea as anything.
Why does it scare you so much? You
Yeah.
said we were talked about doing some pranks. That would be a glorious prank.
It'd be beautiful.
It would be. We can bring this up at a later date. Just
Yeah.
make that note. Make a mental
Table.
note, Ben.
We'll table this one for a later day.
Yeah. Well, Kyle, you have to run.
I do, boys.
Well, I know you have the rig to get back to. When I say rig,
Yeah.
your office
Yeah,
on
that's right.
land.
Home now, baby.
Home.
That's right.
Yeah, but thank you for joining us, man. We
Man, I
appreciate
appreciate
your
it.
time, and I'll bet you can't wait to listen to yourself.
Hopefully I shedded some light. Probably not. Go watch the documentary,
Yeah, before you head
What's
off
the name of the documentary again?
Stars in the Sky.
and Meat Eater.
It's on Netflix.
Before you head off into the sunset, do you have anything else on hunting that you would like to leave the curious mind?
I would just say don't judge a book by its cover. Really dissect it. Don't be so close-minded that you just say, hunting's bad.
Yeah, judge them by the content of their character.
Amen.
Amen.
Maybe consider hunting yourself. You might like it.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Maybe go on a murdering spree of animals.
I would just say
A massacre.
go sit in the woods.
Valentine's Day massacre up there.
You don't have to do a tower shoot out of the gate,
Yeah.
but you could.
I would honestly, as a man, as a woman, whatever you want to
Associate with,
with,
identify with.
yeah, just go find a national park. I mean, the government gives you all kinds of land. You can just go out and sit. You don't have to hunt. If you love the wildlife, just go sit and enjoy it. It's pretty peaceful.
And
Yeah,
maybe
it is.
try killing a deer with a slingshot
Yeah.
and see how you fare.
Or a squirrel.
Yeah.
Start small.
Yeah. You start small.
Squirrel stew.
Ew.
It's actually
Gross.
not bad.
Yeah, I'll bet. See, Kyle's tasted everything on the planet.
Turtle soup.
Ew, gross. Yeah. I mean, something.
Hey, man, we were all broke at some point in our lives.
Yeah, right.
Eat what you eat.
Thank you, buddy. So, Ben, why don't you lead the way here and tell us what we need to talk about and just give me the sign and the letter that I need to press when audio is needed to
Okay.
expand. So
I hear you.
the floor is yours. The mic is yours. I'm
Nice.
following your lead.
Let's do it. Well, man, there is a lot going on in the world today. It's been really crazy. And one of the things that, I always am mindful of is just staying childish. I think that it's something we all need to do. And I found this clip and I wanted to play this clip.
Is it childish or childlike?
Childlike,
Yeah.
childish.
Well,
I think it's
childish.
the same thing.
No, I don't think it is the same thing,
No?
actually. No, I think childish would be like an immature idiot, and more childlike would be like seeing things through the eyes of a child,
Yeah.
which are pure.
Yeah.
Maybe they might see dead people, where an adult might not because you are now hardened.
Well, yeah, I think so. Childish is definitely not the right terminology. I meant childlike.
Yeah, childish is tucking your wiener in between your legs and walking around.
I mean, like,
Childlike
yeah,
is
you got to stay youthful. You know what I mean?
you need to stay almost pure.
I think so, man. I mean, it's like being excited by things, allowing things to excite you.
Yeah, and I think just seeing things not through some lens of Republican or Democratic. It's almost like a child doesn't know if someone is bad necessarily.
That's right.
Unless they witness something that, they can decipher is bad, but they don't see the intentions of, a person as clearly as an adult, because we're street smart. We know what people are capable of. Yeah. And it's almost like seeing opportunity through the eyes of a child. You remember when you were young, you were like, I can do this. I can be on the moon. I'm going to own that one day. And some of us do go on to achieve those goals. But I feel like as adults, reality, your current reality sets in from your dream. And I think in this clip, doesn't he reference Elon Musk? Yeah. What letter is that? And we can play
Let's go with clip A.
People who win long term stay childlike the longest. Elon Musk is still childlike. Whoever stays childlike, not childish, childlike the longest wins.
Okay, so now I remember the clip. Yeah, that's PBD. That's Patrick Bet-David. He's a fucking beast. Check out Patrick Bet-David's podcast. He's a badass.
And tell him ManFUzed sent you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it. I mean, you talk about staying hungry, staying persistent, staying aggressive. How can you do that if you don't allow the things to excite you to motivate you? You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like the things that excite children are what motivate them. Whereas like we get into this groove in the mix where all of a sudden, yeah, it is about the bare essentials. But if you're not allowing yourself to get excited, I mean, you look at Elon Musk, look what he did, dude.
He's got to be excited every day.
Rocket ship.
Well, rocket ship, the whole acquisition of Twitter, trying to do whatever it is he's trying to do there. But you've got Tesla, you've got PayPal, all the things he's got his hands in, all these innovative Neuralink. I'm not saying that I'm a big fan necessarily of like maybe what he's trying to do with the implants and stuff, but it is cutting edge shit.
Well, the cool part about Neuralink, for example, is how it is, a part of it is going to be to help people with problems in their nervous system and physical problems like back problems and, nerve related. It's going to help smooth those things over for people. And the Neuralink conversation is also interesting from the AI perspective because that's like a singularity. You know what I mean? And something that's big that's happening right now is the new AI tool, which is called ChatGPT.
So I listened to this segment, and it's a little bit long, but I think it is worth hearing. And this comes from a guest that Joe Rogan had. Right. Joe Rogan is the god of podcasts.
Obviously.
Yes. I love his attitude. I love his perception of the world.
He's a big hunter.
Actually, he's on the Stars in the Sky documentary.
Is
they
he?
feature him.
Oh, cool.
Talking about hunting and,
That's awesome.
and his personal experience.
But ChatGPT, bro, let me just say this real quick. It is an AI. It is a response system. You can type. I've messed with it, okay? I went online and signed up, did an account and stuff like that. You can ask it questions. It'll respond to you. So you could say like, take these 3 Facebook posts or take these 3 tweets and write an article. I mean, it is scary.
But the problem is, well, there's a few problems. If it spits out an article, it's not verifying what is true. It's determining its truth from what it is being fed and what it is calculating, pulling from all these sources.
Yeah, but we can't tell the difference. That's
right, which
that's
is
the
scary
thing.
Right, because that means a narrative can be spun without it being...
That's how it is anyways.
Right. But
the narrative's already bullshit.
Right.
And so anyway, play this clip B.
I want to talk about ChatGPT.
Fascinating question. Have you experimented with it at all?
I have not, but someone, the gentleman who runs the JRE companion page, made a rap with ChatGPT. Like, was it if Kanye West wrote a rap for ChatGPT? They put it on Instagram, but it seems like a person saying it.
So ChatGPT is a large language model trained artificial intelligence, which is, let's just say, it can be awful, but it is often surprisingly good at answering questions you might have about how to do things. One of the great triumphs of it is that coders are now asking it to solve coding problems, and it will actually write code that is functional. It's pretty amazing. And it also, there's an implementation of it.
Write me software.
Up to 3 tweets. It will write a New York Times story in one of 5 genres, optimistic, pessimistic, neutral. And
that's crazy.
You don't really need the New York Times anymore because it's pretty good at this job, right? So on the one hand, it's all very interesting that we're living in an era in which there is at least, and this is a prototype, right? Specifically trained and then placed on the internet so people could play with it. And I've seen lots of interesting uses.
He's a great
It's going to get better, right? We're dealing with ChatGPT 3.
He's making it move for me, okay?
4, which is going to be that much better because it will be built with the improvements that have been gained through turning this one loose on the world. But I have to say, I am quite alarmed.
He's alarmed.
Not only that this thing exists, but I don't think we're ready for it. Ooh. And I don't think we're ready for it in a couple different ways.
Please tell.
If you want to comfort yourself and say, well, this isn't that serious.
I want to know the harsh reality.
That can do these really shocking things. The comforting thing is that the way it's programmed, it doesn't know what it's saying. It doesn't matter that it convinces you that it's saying something and it means it and that it seems like a creative entity. What it's doing is it is basically using a predictive model that has been trained on a huge data set of written language, right? So the answer is, if you take 3 words in a row, can you predict what the next word is going to be? And they've exposed it to a large data set, and it's gotten really good at predicting basically these sequences to the point that it can now, if you prompt it correctly, it can spit out these very
I asked it questions,
explanations. Some of them are
the answers
wrong.
were
sometimes they're
bananas.
Right on target. But I have 2 concerns about it. One, if you imagine that this thing just gets a little better than it is, which is inevitable, that it's going to make actual insight that much harder to spot. Right? In other words, if you become expert at operating this thing, at querying it, and it becomes better at understanding a wider range of topics because they turn it loose on everything that's written on the internet, for example, right? Then the point is the ability to fake expertise is going to go through the roof. I don't think we know how we're going to police a world in which, this problem's already bad enough. Most academics are fakers. They don't know that, right? They trained in something, they wrote a dissertation, they think they're experts, but you can see when something unexpected happens, like the pandemic.
That's right.
You get just broad-scale failure.
That's a great
across
point.
Entire disciplines where nobody seems to get it right? So in that world, this is going to be even worse because now you have an artificial intelligence able to generate things in plain English that are often full of true information, but you don't know whether what generated it is some brain-dead model or something else. That's one concern. And then the other concern is when we say, well, ChatGPT doesn't know what it's saying. It's not conscious. We know it's not conscious because it's not programmed to have a consciousness.
What if it is?
Mm-hmm.
We are actually ignoring the other half of the story, which is that we don't know how human consciousness works. And we don't know how it develops in a child, right? A child is exposed to a world of adults talking around them. And the child experiments first with phonemes and then words and then clusters of words and then sentences.
What if ChatGPT
and by doing
like the
something
Terminator?
that isn't all that far from what ChatGPT is doing, it ends up becoming a conscious individual. And so I think it's clear that
that's like
ChatGPT
Terminator,
is
where the computer gets smart.
But it isn't
It
clear
starts
to me,
doing
at least,
things.
that we are not
And starts-
suddenly stepping onto a process that produces that very quickly without us even necessarily knowing it.
So if you can imagine the movie The Terminator, where computer system gets smart, beyond smart, it knows it can control the humans.
Right.
And it's almost like Matrix 2,
Yes.
where the computer system, where the system has now developed, it has all become self-aware. Skynet becomes self-aware.
Right.
The Matrix system is self-aware
That's right.
and knows, okay, humans can power us. Humans, we'll exterminate them. We don't need them.
Right. Dude, my dad talks about something like this, and it's crazy. He says that the corporations, he said that people haven't figured out yet that corporations are actual AI entities that use human beings to run them.
Really?
Like massive corporations, like the biggest corporate. Like, yes, there's a CEO and stuff like that, but he's driving a ship. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So, but he's the bitch of the system.
Right. Exactly.
The poster child. He's
Right.
the face behind the company. They don't want you to know that there's an actual machine pulling all the strings.
Yes.
Calculating like a chessboard.
And the corporations have no lifespan. They can live forever. Human beings are the capital which is required to run these corporations and to make them more and more powerful and larger.
That's interesting.
Think about Apple, dude. I mean, look at Apple.
Apple's a beast. Have you seen their
Apple
headquarters?
is crazy.
Have you seen that donut-looking
what I'm
headquarters?
saying,
Like,
dude.
it's nuts.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you're talking about companies worth
But-
billions and billions. We're not saying that is
You want to
verified
try it? Should we
truth.
try ChatGPT real quick?
It wants to verify that you are not an AI technology, artificial technology. Interesting. It's already vetting you before
All right.
it will
What do we want to ask ChatGPT? ChatGPT is up
on Ben's phone.
on Ben's phone. We're going to ask it, we're going to query it. It may occasionally produce harmful instructions or biased content.
Ooh.
And it has limited knowledge of world and events after 2021.
They haven't updated it with current events.
How about, is stand-up comedy a good way to promote a podcast?
Or we could ask, what are the downfalls of setting up a waterbed on a second-story floor that is not equipped to hold the weight?
It's answering.
Okay.
I literally submitted it, and it's literally spitting out an answer. Stand-up comedy can be a good way to promote a podcast, as it allows the comedian to connect with an audience and build a following. By incorporating mentions of the podcast into their routine, they can direct their audience to the podcast and potentially gain new listeners. Additionally, if the comedian is a host or regular guest on the podcast, they can use their stand-up routine to promote upcoming episodes and build anticipation.
Yeah, that's good. That's great. Yeah, I mean, that's
It took it less than a second to answer that.
okay. Can we answer what we just spoke about,
Yeah.
about the waterbed prank
Yeah.
on an unsupported second story?
It's not advisable to drop a waterbed through an old floor, as it can cause significant damage to the floor and potentially injure anyone in the immediate area. Waterbeds are heavy and filled with water, and dropping one through a floor could cause structural damage, weaken the floor, or create a hole. Additionally,
That's the goal.
the water inside the bed could cause further damage to the floor, walls, and other nearby areas. My name is ChatGPT, a large language model trained by OpenAI.
It's only going to give out what it sees as nonfiction truth, I guess. It'd be like asking Siri or Alexa for information, essentially. But maybe this has a little bit more open capabilities.
It just answers immediately.
Right. So
You know what I mean?
the scary thing is what happens when this gets even smarter? What happens when maybe it becomes self-aware?
Yeah, and right now it's supposedly not self-aware, but it could become self-aware, and that's one of the scariest things I think for human beings, because for so many people it makes us obsolete. You know what I mean? Like, so many people are doing things which will become obsolete in the event that as AI gets more and more powerful, let's just put it that way. As AI gets more and more powerful, people are going to have to find other things to do. You know what I mean? And so it's really never been more important to get your head right about what it is that you're going to do and how you're going to hit it. Like Mark Cuban said that you only really have to hit it right once in your life and change your whole life. You know what I'm saying? So I think for a lot of people, man, it's a situation where we have to, really get it together and get moving on whatever it is that we're going to do, bro. Because
You have to have a good perception of what's going on.
Yeah.
What's the truth
Yeah.
and what's false. And that can be blurred so easily these days, I feel like
Absolutely.
more than anything. And that was what he was saying. the guy in that clip was that it's going to be harder to gain insight as to what is verifiably true. We're not privy to classified information. We're only privy to the story the media companies are spitting out.
Right.
Like, where is the hard evidence? And actually,
well, that's something that's in low supply. Hard evidence. Dude, the news is so not trusted right now in this country and in this world.
This was a guy that allegedly killed his wife, okay?
Yeah.
This is in court. The prosecutor is laying out the case.
Defendant said he had not spoken to his wife since the early morning hours on New Year's Day. Cohasset police were granted permission to bing on his phone to locate her or her phone. And his phone indicated that it was stationary in the area of the Cohasset house on New Year's Eve until 3:14 a.m. wearing a dress, a black jacket, hunter boots. What I'd like to do now is just describe his actions on the days from January 1st.
Oh, yeah, this is fucking crazy.
On January 1st, at 3 p.m. he did some errands and went to his mother's house in Swampscott, but got lost because he didn't have his phone. He said he knew it was lost when he saw the pirate ship on Route 1. Defendant stayed 15 and Googled using his son's iPad. Some of his searches are as follows. Keep in mind that the defendant said he left at 6 a.m. At 4:55 a.m. on January 1st, he searched how long before a body starts to smell. 4:58 a.m. how to stop a body from decomposing.
Look at this sick guy, too. He looks like a sick fuck.
How to embalm a body. At 5:47 a.m., 10 ways to dispose of a dead body if you really need to. At 6:25 a.m. on the 1st, how long for someone to be missing to inherit.
That right there is an example of verifiable evidence. You are guilty.
Seemingly.
Indeed,
but the attorney stated in the case that they were intending to win in court, even after that.
Yeah, I don't know how you would do that, but
I don't either.
I just think something like Skynet in the Terminator, which is a fictional story, but you know what? Even back then when they created the Terminator, the creator of that story saw where we are now, where computers are just getting smarter and are taking over, alleviating the need for human beings on many levels, in many jobs or occupations.
We become the product,
Oh, we are right now.
We become the fuel.
I'm the show pony. We're the product of this podcast.
Yeah, the social media networks are really, that's like Skynet, like Google, for example.
Yeah.
Or ChatGPT and these different things. But it shines more light on why we need to, crush in our own way in our own lives. Like we were talking about, like the inner space. And so I've got this clip from Jocko that I pulled. That's clip C, please.
Ignore and outperform them. While you're over there watching me and talking about me, I'm working. I'm working hard. I'm taking things to the next level.
You're over there looking at ChatGPT.
Keep gossiping and I'll keep working. You keep talking smack and I'll keep working. You keep focusing on everything and everyone else and I'll keep working. And when you finally look around at where you are and where I'm at, you'll realize that you have nothing left to talk smack about. And you will lose and I will win.
Beautiful.
Jocko's
if that doesn't make you want to stand up, crush it.
AI can't do that, dude. You know what I mean? That's humanity right there.
That's Jocko.
That's Jocko.
And he's got a podcast too.
Jocko
Tell
podcast.
him ManFUzed sent you.
That's the key to winning over all this shit, bro. The key to winning over Skynet, the key to winning over, all the technocracy and the AI. Ultimately, our greatest achievement is to secure the financial freedom of our family generationally into the future. I don't know if it's everyone's goal or not, but it's a hell of a good one to go after.
I mean, and I think it's like this. I mean, we talk, this podcast, while we want to inspire everybody to live their best, most fulfilled life they can.
Yeah.
Whatever that definition is for you. But at the end of the day, do what makes you happy. You're only here for so long.
Yeah.
If, striving for, materialistic items isn't your thing, then just strive to be closer to your family. But to utilize the time you have to be happy, that's what you need to work for. Because at the end of the day, we're all going to die. We don't know when. We don't know how long we got. So whatever little time we do have, this blink of an eye worth of time, because it might be 100 years, maybe it's 80 years, but dude, it goes so fast.
It's gone.
It's like it's a blink.
Whisper.
Yeah. Find your happiness and find what it is that makes you happy. And, that's what you strive for on a daily basis. Hopefully you'll find inspiration, and we find stuff that inspires us, and we'll share it with you. And if you know of any speakers or clips, feel free to share it with us at ManFUzed.com or hit us up on our number. You can leave a text or voicemail, 770-744-5227. Anything else you want to say on that note, Ben?
That whole AI thing, bro, it's freaky. The singularity.
It's crazy.
It's wild. And it's like somehow, what is it Andy Frisella says? He said, personal excellence is the greatest rebellion. What is going on in Boston? That's the question that many of us had. Martin Luther King's statue to be celebrated on MLK Day.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. should be celebrated.
Indeed,
that
he
man was the head of a movement. That man, so wise when you look at his speeches and what he had to say. And they honor him with this beautiful bronze statue.
Yeah.
In Boston.
And it was, it was supposed to be a reflection of a photo of a hug that he and his wife were embracing one another. And so it was based upon that. And it's just a very interesting looking piece, to say the least.
Now, art is definitely in the eye of the beholder. I mean, what one person sees as art, another person could see as dog shit.
There has been a foul reaction to this particular statue.
We have a clip for this, too. We're definitely heavy on the audio today.
Clip D, please.
There are no plans to modify or change it.
No.
Would you do that if asked?
I mean, by who? I mean, because this is
the guy
that was
that did
selected
it
by the people of Boston.
He's insulted.
Hank just came and put something. Thousands of people worked on this. Thousands of people actually put it together, and no one saw this
throbbing member
perverse perspective. And I mean, to bring that to the King's legacy and to dictate the making of our
He said dictate.
He said the dick.
Everybody that I know saw it right away.
He was
saying, I don't know anybody who looked at it. Now, to be fair,
he was stuttering the dick.
He just said dick like 4 times.
Statue, and you go, that's not what the statue should look like.
I don't think that every single person who is seeing a gigantic penis in the Martin Luther King sculpture is seeing them in every single piece of artwork that they do. Now, I also agree with this artist. Once it's up, I don't think you can modify it.
No, hell no.
It's there forever.
Are they going to break out a saw and start sawing?
Dude, no, they can't. There's nothing you can do. I mean, this thing is made of bronze.
It's like iron. It's a sculpture.
It's a massive, massive sculpture.
I think he is a secret pervert.
He snuck that in.
He's like, dude, I wonder how many people. What better way to promote this?
It's going to be celebrated.
Oh, it's going to be celebrated, and it's going to be forever known.
Largest dick in America.
Yeah. The sculpture with the biggest dick. Guinness Book of World Records. Hey, guys, I have an idea. I want to take this beautiful thing we're all working on.
Right.
We've got thousands of hours in, but I want to sneak in my favorite image. So check this out, Ben. This scenario. I have a friend.
Yeah.
She's a girl.
Yeah.
She's kind of in a tough spot. She's got a fiance she's been with for about 2 years.
Okay.
They're engaged.
Yes.
He proposed.
Yes.
He loves to gamble. Get started off with, sports betting.
Right.
A lot of people bet on sports. My stepfather is a big sports bettor, but he manages his money pretty good. Just like gambling and the rush of the win is almost like a drug after a while.
Yeah.
It went from, betting on his favorite teams to now he is betting almost on anything he can.
Wow.
It's almost like, I'll bet you $50 you can't drink this whole gallon of milk. Correct. Now, my question to her, I'm like, well, what's the problem? Is he losing money? And she's like, well, last year he was down. Not a ton. You know, he's maybe down like 10 grand for the year, which is significant, $10,000. You know, the year before, I think he did okay. I think he might have made 15 grand.
Right.
But the betting wasn't as often. And she has raised concerns to him that, you know, it's almost too much. She's planning on a future.
Right.
Before it was monitoring these games that we're playing, whether it be in football or baseball.
Right.
But now he's got his pulse on every game, playing on every platform, you know, that's in season.
Yeah.
If it's football, if there's overlap with basketball, he's betting on games.
Yeah.
And the amount he's betting has also started to increase. You're not going to get that rush off of winning $100.
No.
Now you need to win more to feel that same feeling.
That's right.
When you first, you know,
or
had
you
to
get
win.
some confidence because you've been winning $100.
Right.
Like, hey, I'm going to throw a stat.
And I said, well, you got to talk to him. You got to, if you're going to, you know, marry this person,
right?
Communication is key. You have to express your concerns without accusing him. You need to, you know, more out of concern and less about, you know, you this and you that and, you know, you're doing this. You need to approach it like, okay, this is how it's kind of making me feel and it's worrying me.
That's right.
A little bit, instead of coming at him like you, because no one's good. That's where someone goes on the defensive.
That's true.
So she took my advice and I felt like I was giving sound advice.
Yes.
And his response was, you know, no, baby, I've got this under control. Last year, it was a little bit of a down year, but nothing compared to what I've done in the years prior.
Right.
With some of those years being not verifiable because she wasn't with him.
Right.
And it wasn't as often. But now she's noticed there's been some siphoning, some money that's been disappearing. Their accounts aren't quite merged yet. She knows what he makes from his job. He's had to borrow some money from her.
Yes.
And when she questions, like, where did the money go? Oh, you know, I had expenses, you know, with this. I think there's a form of deceit and lying that is now coming into play about his habit, his extracurricular activities.
Yeah, it's gambling.
So
for sure.
At this point, when she came back to me with his response and some of the things she's noticed, I was like, well, here's the deal. A gambler, just like a drug addict, like a full-blown drug addict, chances are going to spend their money all the same. If you're addicted to cocaine or heroin, and my stepfather actually gave me this piece of information, he said drug addicts spend exactly the same. All they have, everything they got.
Right.
And a gambler is going to gamble everything he's got.
That's interesting.
Could he hit it big and make some money? He's going to gamble it away again, and then chances are he's going to give it back to the house, whatever that house might be.
Right.
I'm like, you need to tread carefully because you're about to merge your finances, and you're about to give him access to your savings. You got a wedding coming up in less than 3 months. What do? Do you roll the dice? It's a gamble.
That's a tough one because, you know, even the way that we gamble our time and the way that we do everything, you know, it's all a big fucking gamble. In her terms, yeah, she's got to have a real conversation with the dude and be like, look, I know you're gambling. She's going to have to accept. The worst thing she can pretend is that it's not happening.
Well, it's just going to rear its head up.
You know
later.
what I'm saying? It'll always be there. That'll always be a part of their life. Most likely. That's always going to be there.
Think about that scenario. You get married, you go through with it. Your bank accounts are now his bank accounts.
Right. And you get wiped out.
Over
a hockey game that he was sure they were going to win, but
or a card game.
Or something. And it's, yeah, exactly.
And I mean, and then everything you've worked for, your credit, it's like a drug addict. If he can't see that there's a problem, he's not going to get the help.
No.
Now, is it a problem? I mean, I'm not in the relationship, but apparently it's a big enough problem for her to seek Kaylee's advice.
That's right.
You know, and I'm like, if it was me, I had to give her brutal honesty. I'd cancel the wedding. I just don't know that I would gamble all my savings and everything I have
So
the evidence is there. There's evidence there for you to make an educated decision.
Here's how I see it. Are you prepared to support him in his gambling? Do you believe in his gambling ability as much as he does? Are you on his side with regard to the bets he's making and the gambling that he's doing? Because at the end of the day, someone who's really good at betting and gambling can make a gazillion fucking dollars. There's a lot of them out there. They can also lose fucking everything. You'd be flat on your face. Is that what you're looking for in this relationship? Or is this like a little secret part of the relationship? Because my whole thing is like, hey, go all in. If you're going to be a fucking sports bettor, let's fucking figure this out. You think you're good? You think you're a good sports bettor? This is what you want to do? You want to sneak around and do this shit? No, motherfucker, let's do it for real. You know what I'm saying? Here's the deal. We're going to take and fucking put together some savings. 10 grand. You fucking turn this 10 grand into something, we'll just keep it fucking rolling. You lose it, you're out. Something like that. But if it's like a situation where he's hiding it from her and she doesn't like it and she's not signing up for that bullshit and this, that, and the other thing, then yeah, dude, let it
well,
go.
And here's the thing also. If it's like, okay, fine, you're doing sports betting, like let's say football, you got
Let's
a
go
niche.
to Vegas.
Well, right, but you got a niche.
Yeah.
You got a bookie. He's got a bookie.
Right.
Right. But then when you're betting on basketball and then you're playing poker online and then meeting your boys for poker.
Right.
So now you're gambling. So now it's not just one thing you're gambling on, maybe something central and niched.
Yeah.
Now you're spreading your money out and you're taking chances in multiple areas. And when you do that, the house always wins.
Yeah. Most of the time.
When it's that consistent.
Yeah.
It always wins.
Yeah.
For the most part.
The house is there to be the house.
The house takes the money.
Which means, yeah, it takes all the money.
Right. And
you
sometimes,
get a little bit.
Sometimes.
Sometimes you get a little bit.
But if you don't manage the money from there.
Right.
Practice good money management, which means not gambling every day. Because the more you gamble, the more you're going to lose. I told her, I said, he's just gambling you.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah.
He's hedging his bets on whether you're going to stay. I say, no. Pull back and
Let him
save
go.
yourself the pain. You
Yeah,
might
man.
pull away. You don't have to say we're done. But you can say, listen, I just don't think it's a good time right now. Let's postpone it. Give it a year.
Here's 10 grand. Turn it to 100. We'll put the wedding back on. You lose it, we're done.
Right.
Take this 10 grand and turn it into 10 mil or we're done, mofo.
I could see the writing on the wall. You always see it better when you're not in it.
Yeah.
I would like to think if it was me, I have all the evidence to make an educated decision that this probably isn't the bet that I would make.
Well, you want to talk about bets. So you know about doubles. So $1,000, dude, I think, check this out. $1,000 is 8 doubles away from $1 million.
Oh yeah, I love the way compounding numbers work like that.
So that's the whole thing. If I can just take this $1,000 and turn it to 2,000, well, now I got 2,000. I can turn the 2,000 into 4,000. Well, now I can turn the 4,000 into 8,000, the 8,000 to 16, the 16 to 32, the 32 to 64. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. So if you want to weigh in on this topic, let us know what your thoughts are. Would you go through with the wedding? Would you cancel it? And you could, maybe gambling isn't it. It could be drugs. You could, basically take that scenario and replace it because it's almost the same thing.
You know what the craziest form of gambling is? Well, there's a lot of them. But the roulette table in Vegas, just put it on black.
No, Russian
roulette. Put it
roulette.
on red.
Russian roulette is,
you know what I'm saying?
Is the craziest
Well, that's
form.
the craziest one. But I'm saying something you can do and not die probably.
Yeah.
Is the roulette table. It's unreal.
Oh, yeah, it's fun.
Just put it on black.
Yeah.
You know?
Bet on black, bitch.
Just there. I mean, that's basically a little less than 50% because you have the zeros.
Right.
But it's about a 50% bet. And it pays 2 to 1.
2 to 1, baby. So check it out. Thanks for listening to the ManFUzed Podcast. You can find us Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Support the show by the big guy table dance. We'll talk to you tomorrow.